The following announcement has been paid for by the
nOw.
All right, so we are live. Welcome back to the NOW podcast. You guys have not seen me before. You guys have heard my voice, but I am Kodi, here with my tag team partner Trevor.
What's up?
And our special guest, who has been on every episode so far, but it won't be for long, is Gravity Well.
Man, why does that feel like I'm getting kicked out rather than walking away from it?
That's how it is.
Well, finally.
Apparently, we hire Kodi and then he fires me.
No,
Seems like
no, not fired, not fired.
No, but Trevor and Kodi be helming this, so I'm excited to see all the things they do with it, and then most likely big shows I'll come back in and speak my gospel on the word of wrestling.
Absolutely. Oh, I just got the notification that we're live. It only took 2 minutes to get there.
Yeah, welcome to going live, and why we have that 2.5 minute intro.
Makes sense.
Don't
Makes
ever get
sense.
one.
I probably should have put another intro with the NOW one, because that would have delayed it a little bit longer.
You're good.
But yeah,
We'll figure it out.
this week we're going to be talking about the week of wrestling, which was absolutely crazy this week. Starting with New Japan Wrestling, and then TakeOver and WrestleMania. It was just one crazy week. Do you guys have anything you guys want to say to start?
I have not seen New Japan yet. I will be downloading it sometime, but I just haven't yet.
Yeah, I'll preface with that too. The insight and the reason I wanted to be on this was because I watched Stand and Deliver, which was NXT's 2-night takeover, and WrestleMania's 2 nights. I did not watch New Japan yet, and I also did not watch Raw or SmackDown last week. So as far as deep insight on the regular shows, I don't have, but the pay-per-views, I have a lot to offer.
Yeah,
NXT,
I think
I only seen night one. I already told Cody
Yeah.
this, but
And I think we're going to try to stick with the pay-per-views because, I mean, even when we talk about 2 pay-per-views, we tend to go for a long time, well past our 90-minute little booking. So we're gonna mainly talk about the pay-per-views, briefly talk about New Japan because that was technically Sunday of last week, so it really doesn't count too much. But the only thing I really wanted to bring up, it was Sakura Genesis, and Will Ospreay has beaten Kota Ibushi for the New Japan Heavyweight Championship, which he just debuted.
And that's huge. I mean, they're putting stock into him already. I mean, as they should. If you're unfamiliar with that talent, do yourself a favor and head over to YouTube when you have a chance.
Ricochet Ospreay is
Ooh.
on there.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Will Ospreay, he's one of the greatest wrestlers right now, and I'm pretty sure that he's in his mid-20s, so he's still pretty young. He refuses to go to America to actually be a stay-at-home wrestler there. He wants to kind of stay in the UK or in Japan, but he refuses to go to America, which is extremely rare because most people think America is where you make it.
I mean, yes and no, depending on exposure, right? Like, I feel, and it's really dependent on how knowledgeable you are of wrestling, because there's different tiers of wrestling fan. There's the ones that like international talent more. There's a different style to it, but there's also ones that are gonna like your traditional, Midwest or South, Southern United States. All these different, like when we had territories, right? There are different styles. So like, I think that's the subjective thing, with most things. So I don't know. I don't know how to elaborate on that anymore. But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, some people, it's all about preference. I mean, every wrestling company really has different styles that they do things. And obviously, yeah, I mean, that Japanese style is very unique, the strong style as they call it, and it's very similar to that UK style. So him wanting to stick with just that instead of trying to go to America and kind of be watered down a little bit, I can respect it.
Well, it's the thing too, the little fish in a big pond or a big fish in a little pond kind of mindset to it. I think that's one of the things on why people will stay where they're at if they're comfortable in Impact Wrestling or if they're comfortable, in Ring of Honor or New Japan or wherever. I think if you're going to be the star and make your money there, why would you go to get put on NXT? No offense to NXT, but get stuck there and then misused if you got called up. We've seen that happen. That's why I bring that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many times.
Yeah, it's countless times that's happened.
Easier to count the ones that actually were used right.
Absolutely, especially in the past 5 years. I mean, they're pretty much just sticking to their guns and going from there, but that's about it. So
it's crazy to see too. If you look at the active roster now, the vast majority of our talent is groomed from NXT. So it was more so in the formative years that we could say that kind of thing. But still, there is that continued problem where they're not really booking people the way they should. But not everyone could be a champion, right? But they're just misusing a lot of the talent who they were building as future stars in NXT. Because they're only building a handful. And if somebody gets hurt, which we've seen, they're not building replacements or for the future.
They don't have to be champion, but let them win a match once in a while. Like Ricochet. I can't remember the last time Ricochet won a match.
And he's stuck in there with the jobbers. I mean, they have that jobber locker room. Yeah. And he was a part of it. So, I mean, that's just... I mean, he was in there with Gulak and a couple other guys. But
yeah, Bobby Lashley telling them they would get a title shot if they took out McIntyre.
Yeah, and I mean, just to think that Ricochet, I mean, where he was and now he's in that predicament, it's mind blowing because of the skill set that guy has and how big he actually is, not physically, but as a talent and a fan favorite. It's just crazy that it got to that point with him, especially.
Yeah, it's because he's not big. Vince is like, he's not good enough.
Yeah, and that's a shame. Because, I mean, other companies, they actually do get the chance. But when it comes to WWE, you get your chance in NXT. And then the main roster is kind of, it is what it is.
Do you want to expand upon the other highlights, or do we, how do you want to?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to really talk about from New Japan. Just kind of briefly touch on Will Ospreay because that is a big deal, especially because that title was just debuted by Kota Ibushi. But I mean, did you guys have anything that you guys wanted to talk about Raw? If we're going in chronological order here.
Before we transition to Raw, I do wanted one last thing on the topic of Ospreay. There was, I don't know if it's rumor mill or just people creating a thing or what. Every now and then, literally every now and then, we get a CM Punk, he's going to do this. Mm-hmm. But it was heavily talked about that this could be something to lure CM Punk out of retirement.
Yeah, I mean, he did call out CM Punk, but he also called out Drew McIntyre. He said he would love to have a match with Drew McIntyre, but then again, he has the mindset where he doesn't want to work in America. So if it's going to happen, which he did name drop him, so you can speculate, it would have to be because of some sort of alliance there between New Japan and WWE.
I would love to see that happen. I mean, it was a thing in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
Especially with what's happening with AEW branching out and partnering up. This is a point where WWE needs to kind of do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, with everybody else starting to do it, It's becoming WWE is becoming that kid that just wants to sit alone with all of his toys, and he doesn't want to play with the rest of the class. That's kind of what it's going on to. The rest of the class is starting to branch out and kind of share their toys along with the rest of the wrestling world, and then WWE's just there with their big pile of toys as in talent, and just want to play solo.
Yeah, I mean, toys is a great descriptor.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's I saw it kind of worded that way online, and I was like, oh, that's a pretty perfect way to kind of elaborate on that.
Trevor said his headset died, so he's BRB.
All right. Yeah, he did tell me that it was plugged in, but he forgot to charge it.
No worries. So he'll be right back. But yeah, if you want to segue into Raw, as mentioned, I did not watch it. I obviously know the build to Mania.
Yeah.
On a loose level what happened, but
I mean,
kind of recap of the go home show.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to talk about as far as Raw goes. It was your typical go home show. Let's see here. Let's try to jog my memory a little bit, because I wasn't planning on sticking to it too much. So yeah, I mean, you had your opening segment, which was Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre going face to face. A nice little promo, but it wasn't too special. And then you had Sheamus versus Matt Riddle backstage, which was really just Sheamus taking out Matt Riddle on his scooter, kind of prepping up for their match at WrestleMania. Then you had Jackson Riker get squashed by Braun Strowman, which is pretty standard for that feud. This is one thing that I talk about. The next segment, you had John Morrison and The Miz. They're debuting. I guess they really aren't debuting, but they're going further into the Hey Hey Hop Hop song. Which I just want to point out that The Miz was WWE champion just a few months ago. Thanks, Ty, for the host. He was WWE champion just a couple months ago. John Morrison was a belt collector just a year ago before coming to WWE. And this is what they are doing. They're dressed up as bunnies, hopping around. It's kind of embarrassing, and this is kind of why those top guys, other places, don't want to come to WWE. Because they're afraid of being John Morrison, who's the hottest thing on the indies, going over there and getting put into really a joke storyline. Not saying it didn't pay off, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's absolutely making him look like a joke character instead of being a serious threat that he was on the indie scene.
I mean, here's the question, though. Obviously, I brought up not everyone can be champion, even though The Miz just was champion after a 10-year absence of being such thing. The question is, maybe everyone doesn't seek out being the champion. Like, Miz has been around. We're looking at 16, 17 years. He's one of the most tenured on the roster as far as active talents. That's an incredible feat. You got to think he's getting a paycheck, and a good one, right? So does he really care if he's not champion? And if you know anything about Miz and Morrison from their first time around over a decade ago, relief kind of act then too. So
yeah, I mean, do I really think they care about being champ? Thank you, DK, for the host. I really don't believe that they care about being champion per se. But it's just, I don't think money is the motivator at this point. They both have made plenty of money in their lifetime. They're both at a point in their career, especially John Morrison, which we have seen. They're at a point in their career where they don't need to be in WWE to get a nice paycheck, if that makes sense. John Morrison is a guy that's going to get paid wherever he goes, whatever name he has, whether it's Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, John Morrison, it doesn't matter. He's going to get paid. I think at this point in his career, he needs to be somewhere that makes him happy. And if this makes him happy, it is what it is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we hear you back.
Okay, I had to switch headsets. Sorry.
DK in chat points out he's the only 2-time Grand Slam champion.
No, and the titles aren't needed. But being turned into a joke character, I think right after you are WWE champion, and I get it was a Money in the Bank, and it was just kind of a transitional champion sort of thing. Being turned into a joke, dressing in a bunny suit and hopping around, that's not necessarily the type of talent that he would want to be. But then again, maybe it is. We really don't know as that deep into it. We know he's very loyal to the company.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a whole nother topic, how the Money in the Bank has been handled, at least this recent year of it. And DK points out also the Miz is always in a storyline. So, I mean, facts, he's always featured. He's no days off, really.
Yep.
He rarely takes time off. He did for his, when he had the kid recently, but like, that's all I can think of. He doesn't take a lot of time away.
No, I mean, even when he did have a child, he wasn't gone for more than 2 months. He was kind of gone for just a little bit of time, and he was right back in it. He was never really gone.
Yeah, because they transitioned from him having Maurice back into that storyline with Shane.
Yep.
And his dad.
Yeah, the best in the world storyline.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, he's had a pretty prominent not main event role. It's consistent, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's always been better in the mid card scene anyway. Intercontinental champion, he's one of the best to do it.
Yes.
But I think that's the big difference. We're saying that he was one of the best Intercontinental champions, and now he's jumping around in a bunny suit. But like I said, he could enjoy that. We really don't know the inside scoop behind all of it. But moving on, we had AJ Styles versus Xavier Woods, which Xavier Woods ended up, let's see, this was not the roll-up because that was the week before. Yeah, almost ended up causing a disqualification because he attacked both of them. And then we had Ricochet versus Drew McIntyre, which again was pretty much a squash match, which led to King Corbin attacking Drew McIntyre. Or then had Bobby Lashley apply the Hurt Lock. That was to end the show. So I mean, just to build towards WrestleMania, really nothing special about it. It progressed mainly the WWE Championship match. But other than that, it's a pretty basic show.
Yeah, DK says, if you add up his TV shows, appearances, movies, I mean, he's on reality television. He came from reality television. He's hosted reality television. Indeed, he is one of the most prolific wrestlers ever to have success. I mean, we hype up The Rock as, transcending into entertainment. Sure, he's had more blockbuster movies, but like, The Miz has been a busy individual.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. And then Ty said, in the end, Miz is doing his job, whether we are taking him serious or not. He is making us want to root for the other person in the match. Yes and no.
Ty's wrong. I root for the Miz.
Yeah, I root for the Miz as well. So, I mean, yes, he's doing his job. When it boils down to it, at the end of the day, he's doing his job.
Yeah,
he's getting paid for it. But, it is what it is at that point. But yeah, moving on to Wednesday night, Wednesday, April 7th, we had NXT Stand and Deliver. They actually took, or not, it's still NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Night 1 opened up. The pre-show had Zoe Stark defeating Toni Storm, which is kind of a big surprise because Zoe Stark's fairly new and Toni Storm is pretty known for being a dominant force. Decent match, good way to open up. But then again, I really don't think you needed a pre-show for this night because this episode, night 1 was actually on basic television. This was the last Wednesday night for NXT.
Yeah, because they're moving to Tuesdays now. They lost the war.
Correct. But if you think about it, their ratings, they beat AEW in ratings this week. But you should when...
I mean, as they should. It's their pay-per-view show.
Yeah. It's a pay-per-view show for free. So,
Right.
Night 2 was not free. That was on Peacock or WWE Network, depending on where you
If you're
live.
international.
But going on to the main card, the opening match was Pete Dunne versus Kushida. I personally thought that this was the match of the night. I think there was a lot of good matches on this card. The match wasn't too long, but it showed real technical genius from both guys. It was really fun to watch.
I mean, I'm a fan of both of them, so I knew I wasn't going to be disappointed. If you watch NAW on the DNA channel here, you may know that I use Pete's music as my entrance music, so I am a big fan. I'm still kind of beside myself with how he's leaned out. Like, the dude lost a ton of body fat, and he doesn't look like a bruiserweight anymore. He's so lean.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely weird, but he moves the same. Just because he got lean, I don't think he moves any differently whatsoever.
No, but the impact to some of the things is just not the same when you're not as bulky. And I'm sure it's healthier for him to be the way he is now. But it just, when your gimmick is the bruiserweight and you hit the way you do, it looks better when you're have a little bit more mass on you. And don't get me wrong, he is cut. He is muscle. He is cut. This is not an insult or taken away. It's just, I have to get used to it. That's all.
Yeah, and I mean, you could never really tell too much because he always wears the singlet.
It's his legs where I notice it the most, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, beforehand, I mean he has the thigh tattoos. What is it? It's a big cat. I think it's a tiger or something. But it definitely just looks smaller at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens if you get a tattoo and you
and you shrink down,
increase or shrink in size. It's gonna be very different.
Yeah, but like I said, that one, even though the match time says that it was 10 minutes and 39 seconds, I think they killed it for 10 minutes and 39 seconds. The entire time, it was just a beautiful match from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Match number 3, I guess you would call it, was the 6-man gauntlet eliminator match between where Bronson Reed defeated Isaiah Swerve Scott, Cameron Grimes, LA Knight, Dexter Lumis, and Leon Ruff. And I actually really enjoyed how fresh this match looked. Actually giving them a time limit instead of just having one guy and another guy go face to face. Whoever gets the pinfall, the next guy goes out. I actually like this format a lot better when it comes to a gauntlet match.
I do and I don't. I feel like not a lot of people get the stage or the spotlight that you would in kind of a rotational mindset. You get a lot of people just resting on the outside, then big spots and jump-ins. Like, I wasn't impressed with LA Knight in this match. Just the way they've been building him, and there were a lot of awkward eliminations around his elimination in the match.
Yeah.
I missed most of this match. I was watching another show like called NAW. I was going back and forth on my computer.
Well, it makes sense.
It was the bigger show of the night.
It was. Now, where did I want to go with this? LA Knight, I really don't think he's... I mean, he's still very fresh. I don't necessarily feel like he's not being booked to live up to his potential, if that makes sense. How big
now
he
with
was.
his history,
Yeah.
if you followed his career, Eli Drake, he wasn't like a big champion in Impact, but he was one of their bigger names, and he's got the look.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm surprised they're not doing well. And like you said, he's still early. They could very well do things with him, but like some people, I just feel like you should just fire them out of the cannon because they're ready. Kind of personality.
Yeah, and he's that type of guy, 100%. He has the look. We've seen him on the mic already, and he's already done extremely well on the mic, which that's rare to come out of the gate and actually put on good promos. And this guy just has it all right now. It wouldn't surprise me if he, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I see him as like an EC3, sort of. He has what it takes. He's not going to be on NXT that long. I feel like he's going to move up very quickly. But hopefully he doesn't get lost in the shuffle like EC3 did. But I guess we'll really see when it gets a little bit closer.
I just say time will tell the tale here, and
Absolutely.
let's hope for the best. And if not, it'll be another case of we told you so.
Yeah, so I mean, this match.
He wasn't lost.
What was
He
that?
was just buried.
Well, I mean,
EC3 wasn't lost. He was just buried.
yeah, and he was mainly buried. Yeah, I think he was buried because of the Dean Ambrose storyline. Everybody knew that Dean Ambrose was getting buried on his way out, and EC3 was the guy. He was the guy that was doing it. So instead of EC3 getting cheered by a heel Dean Ambrose, everybody saw what was happening. They saw the writing on the wall, and they started booing EC3, which ended up getting him not booked in the future, which is really unfortunate for him. Bad to put that guy in that spot. I mean, nobody was going to flourish in that spot. You guys have anything to say about that?
No.
Yeah,
But it's
tough spot for him.
Mm-hmm. So that match, Bronson Reed ended up going through the gauntlet and picking up the win. So he got to face Johnny Gargano for the North American Championship on night 2. Moving on, the next match of the card was Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa, which this was a very good match. I am not too much of a fan of Walter, surprisingly enough. I know a lot of people are. He's held the title now, that NXT United Kingdom Championship. He's held it for over 2 years at this point.
it's just insane. It's so insane.
But then again, he took almost a year because of COVID without wrestling at all.
That's true, because NXT UK was just shut down.
They were just shut down completely. So he wasn't defending his championship at all for almost a year. Not saying a year isn't a lot of time anyway, because that's how long he held it if you take away a year. But I really don't think that he should have in the books that he is a record-breaking champion when he hasn't actually defended the title like Pete Dunne did before, who was the record holder before Walter.
Right. I mean, you can give him the longest reign, obviously, due to circumstance, but a dominant fighting champion, that doesn't go to him as an accolade.
No. But overall, what were you going to say?
I wanted Ciampa to win, but I figured he wouldn't, because Ciampa's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think that was a ongoing thought that Tommaso probably should have won, even though he's not an NXT UK guy. I think this reign by Walter people kind of wanted a change. Walter is the COVID champion, which isn't good on anybody, especially when the company's not even running. So I think a lot of people wanted to see Ciampa go on and take the win and take the title, even if it was a short period of time. There was some cool spots in this match, with Walter doing a chop right through the announce table, which was pretty cool. But Walter ended up defeating Ciampa with just a basic chop, which didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, it felt like, for what we've seen from both of these people, kind of a chop in the face.
Mm-hmm.
You get it, yeah.
Maybe he was just honoring the great Khali going into the Hall of Fame, you know.
Hey, yeah, maybe.
Was it?
Yeah, and I mean, with these two guys, so Walter, I do understand his gimmick is he's a ring general and he can win the title with anything. He does not have a finishing move. They say that any move he does can be a finishing move. But a chop, I feel like that's taking it a little too far.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I am a fan of Walter. I do love Imperium, and in all honesty, and this is really where I got the idea for, if you go back in the history books of NAW, for Empire. That's kind of what I wanted Empire to emulate.
Yeah.
It didn't really work out like that, but hey, you know, some ideas never work out. But I do, just their presence. I like what they are. It's simple, it's clean, it's dominant, and it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Overall, I enjoyed this match. Probably the second best match of the night for me. But yeah, I mean, the way it ended kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, but overall the match was very good.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on to the next match on the card, it was a tag team championship match, taking that title away from Bacon. It was MSK versus Grizzled Young Veterans against Legado del Fantasma. MSK ended up getting the win here and claiming the tag team championships, which I was pretty surprised that they were going to let a team that is fairly new to NXT go ahead and take the titles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about MSK. I do miss a lot of episodes of NXT just because of what, you know, we do here on the channel. So it's...
Did you hear me twice?
Oh.
How would I fix that?
That is weird. No one else has said anything.
Are you hearing everybody twice or just Kodi?
It
Is
echoes.
Just you.
Is that any better? I did fix something. I don't know if that fixed everything or not.
He says as if you have two mic sources. Interesting.
Okay, I fixed it. Yeah.
Okay.
I did technically. There's a mic one and then an aux one, so I just turned off the aux and we're good.
Can you hear myself and Trevor still?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Trevor, can you hear you?
Hello?
Can you?
Yep.
For the listeners on the podcast, obviously, as you know, technical things happen.
We're figuring it out. It's night one.
It is. The
That
takeover.
was a technical
Talking
difficulty.
about the takeover.
Takeover on the takeover. Yeah, but the tag team match was a good match. NXT always does really good tag team matches. I can't think of a takeover match that was a tag team match that they had that was bad. They usually knock it out of the park with these, and this just continued that trend.
Yeah, they really do have a solid tag team foundation there. It's a shame that they can't replicate that on the main roster.
Well, then it's tag team.
That's true. That's true.
That's
We'll
very
get to
true.
that as the show goes on.
And then the main event of night one was the NXT Women's Championship match. Raquel Gonzalez against Io Shirai, which Raquel Gonzalez ended up winning. Another very good match. Was it the match of the night? No. Was there a very serious botch in the match that I noticed? I don't know if you guys noticed, but there was a point in time where the ref counted. He slapped the mat 3 times, but went for a 4th one because it wasn't the time for the end of the match.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
That stood out big for me. I mean, it's nothing to do with the women. They couldn't have changed that. But just the referee kind of doing his own botch there.
Yeah, he missed his cue.
Yeah,
He thought
That's what it
he
was.
thought it was counting for King Kong Bundy. He had to do 5.
yeah, it was.
That's
it
a
was
throwback. Was that WrestleMania 2?
It's the 5 count.
Oh, he did it for a lot of matches. He always wanted a 5 count. That's how dominant he was. He would pin him for 5.
Which that's where Big E got the 5 count in NXT.
Interesting. I didn't know that was a reference to that.
5 count. Yep. He needed
That's a cool throwback.
3 wasn't enough. He needed 5. But yeah, this match was good. Besides that botch, that was pretty bad. But overall, this match was very good. Did I like it ending the show? Probably not. But it is what it is. It was a good NXT Women's Championship match. But I'm not going to harp on it
It was
too
good
much.
to give the ladies the spotlight.
Yeah, especially when you have 2 nights anyway. You get 2 nights means you get 2 main events, so why not?
Io Shirai deserved the main event.
Yeah, I agree. She's had a
Yeah.
good title run. She's a good talent. I'm torn on the idea of her going to the main roster because, again, it's that scenario where could she thrive and do well? Of course, if properly booked. But will they do that? It's an unknown. I'd like to see her do well. And then most specifically, her entrance in a big arena when we actually get to that point again.
Yeah.
I saw it before when I was at Survivor Series, her entrance in a big arena, and it is awesome. So to get that opportunity, hopefully that happens for her. So I think it was the right decision to have her drop it if indeed they are doing a call-up.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention is that both of these nights did have live viewers. It was 500 total for each night.
That's a lot.
In the Performance Center at that.
As I'm saying, that's a lot in there.
Yeah, for that small of a building, 500 is a lot. I do have in my notes what WrestleMania was, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Mania when we get to, since we're on the topic, do you know
Yeah.
offhand just as a comparison?
It's right here in my notes, which was night 1 was 25. Both nights were 25,675 people.
Okay, because I know originally they were aiming to sell 45,000 tickets, which I thought was outlandish given the predicament we're in a pandemic.
Yep.
And I'm just impressed that they got that many in there. We'll talk more on my thoughts on the crowd and various things as we get to Mania, but I just wanted to do a comparison of numbers real quick while we're on the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. That was it for night 1. Moving on to night 2 on Thursday. That's.
Are we going to cover AEW real quick, or just skip over that because it was regular?
I mean, I was really gonna just try to skip over the regular shows this week.
Okay.
If we want to touch on them a little bit, we can.
I'll
But
say for time constraints.
yeah, I
we're
know
already
how
at
we
45.
are. Yeah, I know how we are with when we do 2 pay-per-views alone and the week of wrestling. This week of wrestling is kind of that.
Yeah, a lot to cover. Obviously, these shows with you guys going forward will be less chaotic.
Yeah.
This
But
is just the busiest week.
moving on to Thursday, which was night 2 on April 8th. The pre-show, this one was actually on Peacock or WWE Network, depending on where you are. The pre-show had Killian Dane and Drake Maverick beat Breezango. Not a fan. Not a fan of this.
Why?
I'm not a fan of it because of Tyler Breeze and Fandango. I think they both deserve better, especially Tyler Breeze, what he was in NXT before he went to the main roster. And then Fandango, I mean, he debuted beating Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. And now he is jobbing to Drake Maverick in NXT. Just not a big fan of that thought process.
You're also going to consider what's the stock in them. They realize they've potentially run their gimmick course, and are they interesting anymore? Like, they are talent that I would expect and see do mid-card level success in AEW or Impact. I don't see them thriving ever again in WWE, sadly.
Even in a solo career for either of them, I really don't see them being pushed that way.
The stock came and went for them. They didn't pull the trigger when they should have on both of them, and it's unfortunate.
But this match was for a future NXT Tag Team Championship match that I believe is going to happen on Tuesday. So MSK is going to have to defend their Tag Team Championships against Killian Dane and Drake Maverick.
And I mean, I think they're primed for a good feud. I don't know in their first encounter they'll actually get the belts.
No, I mean, especially with it being MSK's first challengers,
Right.
And then even looking at MSK a little bit deeper, they did go in the Dusty Rhodes Classic and actually go a lot further than anybody would have thought. I believe they won it, didn't they?
I think so, yes, if I'm recalling that correctly, because they highlighted that during their victory of winning it,
And
recalling that tournament.
That was really their first matches. They debuted really for the Dusty Rhodes Classic. So, I mean, they've been on a hot streak ever since the beginning of that, continuing it, and I don't see Drake Maverick and Killian Dane being the two that's going to take them out, especially this early.
I just don't love MSK's attires. Like, it looks like some late 90s WCW, talent.
So they were, they were the Rascals in Impact Wrestling. They do have a third member.
Oh, yeah, that's where I remember them from. Okay.
Their gimmick is stoners. That's what they are.
Yeah. Okay. Which was everybody in the late 90s anyways in WCW.
Exactly.
So it makes sense.
So that's where you get the color schemes and everything like that. I do think they are very good in the ring, these two together especially. Will their third join them eventually? Possibly. But I really don't know at this point in time.
I mean, yeah, if they want to build something out of it and grow them, sure, that's the logical move, but it'll be fun to watch. Like I said, tag division is fun in NXT.
Yeah, and it's not slowing down. Even when they didn't have many tag teams, just like WWE, surprisingly, NXT went through a little spot where they didn't have many tag teams. They still knocked it out of the park every time. They made tag teams on the fly and absolutely killed it. Like Birch and Lorcan, that was a thrown together tag team. Can we get a female stoner?
Yeah, Lana wants a female stoner. What's up, Batman?
I feel like there's a couple people that you could throw into that gimmick that would actually flourish pretty well. I think the Riot Squad would be pretty good. No.
That right there is stereotyping.
What do you mean?
Well, because they're punk, they all of a sudden are stoners?
Well, Liv Morgan's not punk. I wouldn't consider her punk at all. Ruby Riott, I would. But
yeah,
I wouldn't say just because you're punk, you're a stoner. Because, I mean, MSK is not punk.
No, but, like, the neon stuff, like, that's kind of the thing. Black lights,
Bailey as a stoner?
Would be funny.
Bailey as a stoner would be funny. Yeah.
I'm going to
I'd be down with that.
very highly
Ding
of
dong.
Bailey.
Hello.
I'm going to talk very highly of Bailey a little bit later.
Oh, I'll talk highly every podcast if you have me on.
So the first actual match of night 2 was a ladder match to determine the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Champion between Santos Escobar against Jordan Devlin. I think the wrong guy won here, if we're being honest. Not a big fan of Santos Escobar. I was a very, very big fan of him on Lucha Underground as King Cuerno. But I am not a fan of this gimmick.
Can we bring back Lucha Underground? Is that coming back?
I really wish we could. King Cuerno was so good. Prince Puma, Johnny Mundo. You had Luchasaurus over there, Rey Mysterio. You had Rey Fenix, Penta. I mean, if you just look at that roster alone, beautiful.
They had women
roster.
beating up men for the title. It was amazing.
Oh my God, that roster, if you just look at the names on that roster and then see where they are today, you're like, that was an incredible roster. But yeah, the match itself was very, very good. I think Jordan Devlin, I think he kind of outshined Santos Escobar a little bit. Even getting jumped and still almost winning. I think he did an amazing job. Both of them did an amazing job. This was up there. I wouldn't call it match of the night, but it was number 2 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this one was fine for me. I'm not sold really on their time so far in NXT. You know, maybe this will help elevate them.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I don't love the NXT Cruiserweight Championship to begin with. I don't love weight class championships.
I enjoyed the Cruiserweight Championship heavily when you had Pac and you had even Enzo Amore and you had Buddy Murphy. I mean, that group of guys was very good. Cedric Alexander. I did really enjoy 205 Live at that time. I know not a lot of people got into 205 Live, but when Enzo was there, that was a very, very good brand to watch weekly. Every single week had amazing matches. Rich Swann
But
as
that's the problem. It became a brand and you divided your talent. And it's why you automatically, once you kind of folded them from being a cruiserweight, like Murphy as example,
Yep.
can you book him to be a main eventer then? You know, how do you get him out of that? Because Rey Mysterio is lighter than him. Finn Balor is lighter than him. And
Yeah.
those are your heavyweight champions.
I think
So it's
that's
that
the
inconsistency
problem.
of branding.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I think that they make these cruiserweight guys look so good against other cruiserweights, but then when they get moved up, they can't do anything against heavyweights, which I think that is the problem. I think if you had more guys like Buddy Murphy going to the top and actually beating people, and even Enzo was getting squashed on the main roster weekly, during and after the feud with Big Cass. And then he goes down to the Cruiserweight division, wins the championship against Neville, of all people, and pretty much runs roughshod down there as like a really good, dangerous talent, which that just isn't a good look when he was just getting squashed on the main roster.
Yeah.
I didn't like the fact that they had just the show with the two cruiserweights. Like, mix them in.
I did enjoy it on Raw. I did enjoy on Raw when they would change the ropes to purple and have a 205 Live match during the actual show.
That's fine. During Raw, but like just having them on their own show, it's like, they don't matter as much, especially since it was only on the network, and I think that was right when the network came out and wasn't as big yet.
Yeah, I completely agree.
We left because they were doing it after a SmackDown, I think we were at. We left during the Cruiserweight show, or 205, and just to beat traffic.
And that's the thing about the live shows. I don't think that they needed to do 205 live. I think what they should have done is kind of how they do main event, if you've ever been to a Raw. They do main event before the show. So you have the people... You don't have people leaving because they don't want to see it. It's a warm-up. That's what I think the Cruiserweights and 205 Live should have been at that point in time. If you're not going to have them on the regular show, just like on Raw, they had them on the regular show, which I heavily enjoyed that.
Yeah. What's up, Za? Redeeming.
Moving on to the next match on the card, we had the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart against The Way, which is Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really enjoy the fact that they have... How do I put this? I don't think the women's division on the main roster or NXT has enough tag teams to have 2 separate titles. I think they should be doing a lot more with what they have in the women's division as far as tag teams go. And it shouldn't have ever became a NXT Women's Tag Team Championship. If anything, I think that Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax probably should have lost on NXT and the titles be on all 3 brands. I don't think that they should have continued and made a secondary form of tag team championships because the NXT team lost, which is kind of what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing where they were going to defend it on all brands, then it only went on NXT like 2, maybe 3 times. And
exactly, and then they just gave up and made their own tag team championships, which, they have 2, 3 tag teams in the women's division on NXT? I'm not saying the main roster is any better.
Yeah, the main roster has shit for tag teams. You got the Riot Squad, which is a good team, and they broke up.
I mean, we saw it showcased on night 1, which we'll talk about, their tag team division. So
just staying brief with that, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart retained. It is what it is. It was a decent match, nothing special. They did give them a little bit of time, but it was still the shortest match on the card. But moving on, we had Johnny Gargano against the winner of Night 1, which was Bronson Reed for the NXT North American Championship. This was a very good match. They gave them 16 minutes and 23 seconds for this match, which was a little bit shorter than the NXT Championship match, but I thought it was a very, very good match. How you had Johnny Gargano being kind of a genius here, and pinpointing parts on Bronson Reed to take out. I think this elevated Johnny Gargano drastically. Not saying he wasn't very, very good before, but I think him beating a guy the size of Bronson Reed, I think really puts him over.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like coming off of The Way not picking up the title and then him retaining.
Yeah.
It's just weird for a faction to be half dominant. And I know it's a thing, and it can be and should be. But, like, I don't know. The Way right now is such a hodgepodge besides LeRae and Gargano of people. Like, they have no clue to do with Cody's lookalike, Austin Theory.
Love Austin Theory.
You look like him, too. It's weird. Have you ever noticed that?
I have not, and I've never heard that. But Austin Theory, I watched Evolve quite a bit, and he has one of the nicest finishers I've ever seen that he's never done in WWE since he's been here.
But they just don't know what to do with him. He was on the main roster, and they didn't know what to do with him there.
Well, he also got caught up in the Me Too movement, which we're not going to dig too deep on that, but he was declared innocent on it.
Oh no, I didn't know that about him, and
that's why he got pulled away from Seth and Buddy Murphy, because it was those 3. He got pulled away because of that and was out for a couple months before showing up back on NXT. But yeah, I mean, they really didn't know what to do with him, so now he's with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, and
yeah,
it is what it is. But yeah, I thought this match was very, very good for what it was worth, and it made Johnny Gargano actually look extremely smart and extremely dangerous.
Which he needed. He's had a few hiccups, so this is a redeeming match for him.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what we talked about when we were talking about cruiserweights going up against bigger guys and showing that they're not all that. This is the complete opposite. This is how it should be done.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Moving on to the NXT Championship match, we had Karrion Kross defeating Finn Balor for the NXT Championship in a much more competitive match than I thought was going to happen.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I'm not sold on Kross. He's not my dude.
I agree with you completely.
The entrance, like, a lot of people love it. It's awkward, like her singing and prancing around. Like,
I think he's so over because of Scarlett. I truly think that he's this over because of Scarlett, not because of himself.
I mean, I guess. I mean, and that's fine. Like, sure, she's helping him out, but like, I don't know. There's just I don't like him. There's just something that bothers me about him.
Because he looks like a serial killer.
He kind of does.
But I mean, so does Dexter Lumis, but we like him.
Yeah, but in a weird way.
That's true.
I think they pushed him up to the title a little too fast. I know he had it before, and that was even fast, way too fast.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't a fan when he was in Impact. When he was Killer Cross, wasn't a fan. I think there's a lot of guys a lot better than he is. He just has the look, and that's what really matters. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Finn Balor, I'm glad, like, at his point in his career, he's putting over people because that's really all he can do now. They're not going to do anything more with him. His time came and went. I don't, again, see them investing stock in him on the main roster ever again either, which is unfortunate. But, hey, you know, he's doing something here. He's helping others. Say that again?
I said, which is ridiculous because he's amazing.
Oh, he is. He's fantastic.
Usually be the champ.
Should be.
Yeah.
I mean, he had, the belt for one day on the main roster? That's it?
Yeah, and that's why Vince is like, no, because he's not reliable. I'm like, he got
his
hurt
fault?
in the match. It happens. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, I see it differently. I think he is going to go back to the main roster. They're going to keep him. I think he's going to be shown. I think Vince is going to be shown enough of Prince Devitt, that gimmick, and I think he's actually going to be able to do something. Now, is that wishful thinking? Absolutely. Is it because I like Finn a lot? Probably. But I do think that the gimmick that he has now compared to the gimmick he had right before he left the main roster, two completely different things, and this one is 100 times better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree there. You can only go so far with the demon gimmick.
Which he hates.
Nothing's going to compare to his original run in NXT either.
Now, did you hear his story about the demon? He said
he probably hates having the makeup put on for it?
No, he said he never wants to do the demon again because it means he can never show up to a big match and win
without being the demon.
Yeah. So it makes him irrelevant. It makes Finn Balor irrelevant. It only makes the demon a threat.
I mean,
so he never wants to do it again.
It, but if you got something, run with it though. Like, it's still you. Like, man, that's
I mean, I get it. I get where he's coming from. I get what you're talking about too. But I do get where he's coming from. How this isn't what he was in New Japan. It's not even close to what he was. The Prince is what he was in New Japan, and that's what got him to where he is now.
Well, that and Bullet Club.
Yeah, which he is a founding member of.
Right.
Moving on to the main event, this match took up almost half of the show.
It was too long. It was too long.
40 minutes and 19 seconds, we had an unsanctioned match. Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole. Kyle O'Reilly taking the win, walking out under his own power, while Adam Cole gets taken out on a stretcher. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was very long. But then again, some of my favorite matches are in the 40-minute to 60-minute mark, like Okada versus Omega. I mean, that match was an hour long, and it's probably my favorite match of all time. But this match, there was never a slow point in this match. It was, the chain got pulled out in the first 10 minutes, and that thing was used almost the entire match. Was it used very well? Half the time it wasn't. But there was some very brutal spots in this match that dropped my jaw.
I think Cole was trying out to his girlfriend.
I think Britt still takes the cake on that one because she was a legitimate bloody mess and went through tax. But the finish with Adam Cole laying on the upside down chair, the guillotine spot. Yes. Oh, you're talking about the guillotine spot with the clothesline, right? Yeah. That clothesline was nasty with the chain. But where Adam Cole was on the upside down chair, the chain got wrapped around O'Reilly's knee, and then he dropped it down, and it looked like it shattered the chair, which was just great for a visual. It looked extremely brutal, and Adam Cole's selling of it, where he was twitching, absolutely a fantastic job by both men.
Yeah, and it was good to see, because, I mean, if you're going to weigh the success of that faction that they are coming from, the Undisputed Era, the real star of it all has been Adam Cole.
Absolutely.
So to have him lose this to put over somebody else and give stock outside of himself is a win as well.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. I do think that Adam Cole probably is going to move up to the main roster. I think he's done everything that he can do in NXT. He's won all the championships multiple times. I know that everybody wants to stay in NXT, but there comes a point in time where not everybody can. And I think Adam Cole's at that point in time where he's already done everything that he can do. It's time for him to move up, and either Vince sees it or he doesn't. I'm leaning towards no because the way Adam Cole looks.
He's going to AEW, I'm sorry. I'm calling it now within the next 2 years.
I wouldn't be surprised. Britt Baker has said that they're going to wrestle together one day.
Yep.
Britt Baker, of course, could go to WWE, but then again...
I don't see that. I see Adam Cole more than likely going to AEW.
Yeah, with Adam Cole's Bullet Club past, he used to be a regular on Being the Elite, which is the Young Bucks YouTube channel. He's very, very good friends with all of those guys over there in the Elite. The only reason that I take a step back and say maybe he's going to stay is because he does have a great time with Xavier Woods on Up, Up, Down, Down. He's a regular on there every single week. But I think the deciding factor is going to be his actual job, which is wrestling. And, I don't think Vince is going to give him what he deserves on the main roster. So
I don't think so either.
I think he's going to most likely finish up this contract and go.
Yeah.
He could still be on Up, Up, Down, Down. Jericho was on Stone Cold podcast.
That's a special case, though. I guarantee that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think that I don't think they're gonna give Xavier Woods the thumbs up like they would Stone Cold, and then I don't think that they would give anybody else a thumbs up like they would Chris Jericho, who has done a ton for that company for 2 decades.
Yeah, since 1999. So.
But that was it for NXT Stand and Deliver, night 1 and 2. Both absolutely delivered, especially compared to what we're going up against. I think they stood and delivered. They really did. Pun intended.
NXT usually does deliver. They've had some of the best pay-per-views.
Yep.
They do. I really don't think they could have done much better than what they did, especially ending night 2 with a brutal match like that. Did they stand? Adam Cole did not at the end, so maybe not.
No, not at attention, anyways.
But then moving on, not much happening on SmackDown. We'll go ahead and skip that.
One thing, I was hoping Undisputed Era would get moved up together as a faction because I
think
the main
most people
roster
did.
needs factions.
Yeah,
because they had the Hurt Business, broke them up. I mean, they still have them, but it's just MVP and Bobby Lashley. They had Retribution, broke them up. I mean, they were awful, but
at least they broke them up before they got to the main roster. Then,
yeah, I mean, and then AEW may have too many factions, but I'd rather have too many than none.
Yeah, I mean AEW just goes with the New Japan style of things, which is a ton of factions.
WWE doesn't like factions, though. If you look at the history, they've generally had one, maybe two at a time, and it's dependent on storyline or merchandise and what they really want to tell. And it's usually surrounding one character story arc. They don't know how to book an entire faction because it has a lot of moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's been problematic for them. They can't do it.
I mean, they can't book storyline right now for even single people.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to that. We're going to get to that.
They have some, but not many. Yeah, I know.
Are you guys ready to move to Saturday night?
Let's go to WrestleMania.
Like I said before, they had almost 26,000 in attendance. This was April 10th on Saturday. The show opened with Bobby Lashley defeating Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship.
Surprising, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought McIntyre was going to get the win to give it to him because he carried them through COVID and we have a live crowd. Let's give you the big pop. Not saying it was bad because Bobby Lashley just gets the title and he needed the win too. So, but
I mean, they're setting up hopefully him versus Brock.
Yeah. How it ended is what surprised me. I didn't think that Bobby was going to kind of make Drew McIntyre pass out by a hurt lock. That's what surprised me.
I mean, how else do you end it though? Like with Lashley winning.
That's a good point. I mean, Bobby does.
He's not going to tap him. He's not going to pin him.
I mean, pin maybe. He does have a couple moves that pin people.
Yeah, but to protect Drew though.
Yeah, but does making him pass out protect him as much?
It does. He wouldn't tap. And that's the narrative they can go with. They've done it before. I didn't tap. I just passed out. I mean, the notorious Bret Hart Stone Cold WrestleMania moment. He didn't tap. He passed out.
Yeah.
You could have had Cedric and Shelton interfere, too.
Yeah, I don't like that, though.
Anything else
and
you
guys
guys want?
The whole firing them could have been like a swerve, but no. It was a good match for an opener.
Yeah, no, great way to get the crowd hyped. Because we got to note this too. Neither night at WrestleMania had pre-show matches. No. This has got to be the first in years without a dark match or a pre-show.
Yeah, and I mean this match lasted almost 20 minutes.
And it was delayed too from a 40 odd minute rain delay.
Yeah, I went up and took a shower at 8 o'clock because it was raining there and they were delayed. And I looked at the weather for Tampa and it said it was going to be 50 minutes at least. At least that's what the radar showed.
Let's not do open air stadiums if you don't have a dome that can come up to because rain delays.
You know, I'm surprised it's taken this many years to have this happen to them.
Yeah. But yeah,
because like when they were in New York, New Jersey years back, I thought it was going to happen then because it was like in the 50s and it was super overcast.
Mm-hmm. That was at MetLife Stadium in Jersey. Yeah. But yeah, this was a pretty good match. Definitely a match to get everybody hyped. This is the first match that the live crowd has seen since COVID. This is kind of the way you want to kick things off. On to match 2, which was the women's tag team turmoil match, which was won by Natalya and Tamina.
This should have been a pre-show.
I would agree with that.
Speaking on those tag teams or the lack of or problematic, like this is the example that we wanted to touch on. Wow, how do you like? Who are half of these people? Why are they together?
Yeah. Let me try to find a proper list. Okay, so it started out with Lana and Naomi, Billie Kay and Carmella, Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, and then you had Natty and Tamina, which, just reading that, Lana and Naomi is thrown together, Billie Kay and Carmella is thrown together, then you have the Riot Squad, and the rest are thrown together.
Yeah, like it's such a weird. It's just weird. I that's all really how I can describe it. And there's tenured talents in here too. And it was not a great showing. There were unfortunate botches. There were slips in
Mandy
multiple
Rose.
senses.
Mandy Rose. We'll stick with Mandy Rose falling on the ramp. There was 2 other slips, but yeah.
It's just unfortunate. Like, this is supposed to showcase, and I get a lot of the other females, either aren't booked or are involved in other matches. I don't know. I feel
Riot
like this was
Squad
kind of,
not
like you said, a
winning the
pre-show.
titles as the only unofficial team is annoying. I completely agree with that.
I agree. Riot Squad should have been the ones to win this match.
Yeah.
Instead of this, we could have had the Andre Battle Royal. I mean, it would have been a better match.
Which was done on SmackDown.
I was going to say they did that on SmackDown.
Yeah. Which Jey Uso won that. So I guess we touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Or
my
have
wife.
the women's Battle Royal and call it something besides whatever they called it before, because not good.
Yeah, I mean, this match was
gray.
This match was it's Brittany. It's Britt King, the dominant force on
all hail
in the NAW women's division. But this was a sloppy match. It lasted 15 minutes. Extremely sloppy. Natty and Tamina won. They move on to night 2 to face the tag team champions over there. Moving on from that, the next match we had Cesaro defeating Seth Rollins in a complete spin-off. Great match. I enjoyed this heavily. I like Cesaro and I like Seth Rollins.
They're both really good.
Yeah. The spin with no hands on the Cesaro had Seth on his shoulders, spinning him with his hands on his sides.
It was amazing. What was it, 23 times towards the end of the match?
Yep, he did the Cesaro swing 23 times. Spun him around on his shoulders as well. I wish I kept a count of how many times Seth Rollins was spun the entire match, because I feel like that would have been extremely high.
I hope 37.
I would love that.
Because WrestleMania 37.
Absolutely. There was one point in the match towards the end that I think could have looked a lot better. They tried to kind of recreate the pop-up RKO, but at this time doing a pop-up European uppercut. I think Seth slipped a little bit and he didn't really get much height on it. It kind of just looked like they fell into each other a little bit. But I'm not too critical about that because it didn't look terrible.
I'm just honestly happy that Cesaro got the nod here. His first singles match at WrestleMania. And he got a win, a much-deserved win. It's this WrestleMania, there were of brilliance in putting somebody else over, and there were also moments of what the hell is happening, you know. And this was a match where the right person won, and they put on a good showing.
Agreed. This was a very good match. I would call this match. This would be the runner-up for me for match of the night.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next match on the card, we had the Raw Tag Team Championships on the line. The New Day going in as champs, losing to AJ Styles and Omos. I have mixed feelings.
That the New Day almost won, but they didn't.
True. I have mixed feelings about this match for a few reasons. Number one, you did have AJ Styles, who is a former multi-time WWE champion, who was struggling heavy against Xavier Woods on his own, which that's a plus to Xavier Woods. He did get beat up quite a bit by both men once they started tagging, so that's not much of a problem. But once AJ Styles got the hot tag, Omos just sold nothing. And I don't know where you go from here with him.
No.
Their reactions when he got in was hilarious, though.
It was. But you have Xavier Woods chopping down at his legs, not budging, laughing at him. Then you have Kofi Kingston come in, try his luck as well, nothing, still laughing. That's a former WWE champion who held the title for quite some time, not being able to impact this man whatsoever.
I mean, you saw in the debut of SmackDown on Fox how they gave a shit about Kofi as being a champion.
Yeah, but this is, I don't know how you hurt this guy unless you bring in another monster. Braun Strowman, why would you bring him into the tag team division?
I mean, they did it before at WrestleMania. He won with a little kid.
Yeah. I was trying to ignore that fact of Nicholas.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Nicholas.
Yeah, which was a referee's kid apparently.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how you go from here, making him look exactly invincible.
Well, here's the thing. I figured it out for you. It's a classic situation where AJ Styles gets too cocky and throws it in the face or gets pissed off and almost about something, and then almost walks off.
On. Yeah.
Shawn and Diesel.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's a complete nod to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen. But even then, even if they split up, they lose the titles, who takes this guy down? Who hurts this guy? Other than another monster. Because if this guy has any longevity in his career, he's going to have to face other people, and he's going to have to lose to guys like Seth Rollins. He's going to have to lose to guys of that stature. But right now, nothing touches him.
Yeah, but you're also making it seem like they're going to keep stocking this guy for a long time. I don't see that happening either.
Yeah, you never know. It all depends on how long he's going to be with the company in general. Whether this is kind of a quick thing. Or he said Rey Mysterio, I gotta go.
I did say Rey Mysterio.
Maybe Dominic will take him out.
Hey.
But yeah. Overall, this was a storyline match. We know that this is gonna end up with AJ Styles getting turned on eventually. We've seen this quite a few times. This is kind of what it is. Was it a great match? No. Was it a nice little filler? It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Again, New Day putting over Styles, giving him the Grand Slam championship. Speaking of AJ Styles. Mm-hmm. So a huge accomplishment in just over 5 years, too.
Absolutely.
So, especially when we never thought we'd see the guy here. They gave him a Grand Slam. So, mm-hmm. Speaking of Grand Slams, should we talk about our next match?
Our next match, we had a steel cage match, which was Braun Strowman defeating Shane McMahon.
This was better than I thought it was going to be.
That's what
it wasn't good, really, but it was not bad either.
Yeah, I mean, you had Braun selling quite a bit in the beginning. Going from
at least that made sense because he got attacked by Elias.
Yeah, the chair shots and everything like that.
With the chair, and Shane kept using weapons, so it made sense at least that he wasn't just Shane throwing the worst punches in WWE and taking him down.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the point of the match where we all thought Shane got away. He got out of the ring.
I thought it was over. I'm like, no.
Started climbing down. Gets his hand pulled through the cage, and Braun rips the cage off the hinges and pulls Shane right back in. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
It's a great visual they'll use forever in highlight reels. That was cool to see.
You also had a little bit after that, Braun threw Shane from the top of the cage. So I thought it was a great visual. I really, really wanted to see Braun jump. I really did. Even if it was a regular splash, I thought it was going to happen, and I got really excited for it. And then I let myself down because I got my hopes up for it.
I thought he was going to do the power slam off the top of it.
Oh, God. And you're trying to kill Shane.
I would have enjoyed that,
Shane
too.
tries to kill himself.
But let's be honest. Go on.
I was going to say, like, Ciampa did the air raid crash the pole off the top of the cage in War Games.
They're just crazy. There's like Shane is just another level of crazy.
I don't know if you guys noticed this or if this was just me. I mentioned it to Ty. He agreed with me because we were watching WrestleMania together. Did that cage look shorter than normal? In my opinion, it looked a couple feet shorter. It didn't look nearly as big as most cages do.
I mean, I'd have to go back. I didn't notice anything stand out-ish, if that's a word.
I didn't know if it was maybe the angles that they were showing. But I don't know. Maybe if you guys go back and watch it again, just keep that in mind. And then message me and see if you think it was shorter or not. Because when I was looking at it, I don't know if it was the angles. I don't know if it's because it was Braun standing in there and he's huge. But it looked a lot shorter than normal.
I mean, regardless, the fall into the ring, that's a bump. I don't care who you are, that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back to him versus Taker when he took the fall off the Hell in a Cell structure, if you look closely, the table he went through there was extremely padded. They padded it extra with like almost like an airbag. Yeah. He did end up, if you listen to the story about what happened with his injuries there, he ruptured his belly button and had to have hernia surgery from that bump. So, like, I can't imagine what damage or pain he's dealing with today after that fall off the cage.
Shane does some crazy shit. I'll give him that. I just wish he could learn to punch. His punches look so bad.
He's got that boxing background. That's what it is. But yeah,
he's from the mean streets of Greenwich.
The match wasn't bad. It was a pretty good match. A lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Moving on to another match that was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest defeating John Morrison and The Miz. All right, let me start off with the entrance by The Miz and John Morrison. Like I was saying earlier, all the bunnies and everything. Not a fan. Not a fan of these two guys doing that.
Some of them had one ear.
Yeah,
one of the ears fell off.
There was a couple of them that had one ear.
There was a few.
Mm-hmm. But overall, Bad Bunny, you can tell he was trained well in the short time that he was trained.
Yeah, he took it seriously, and he looked decent.
He
better
definitely,
than some others.
He definitely took it seriously.
Yeah.
No, I mean better than some people on this night.
Yeah, I
Looked.
mean, he hit a nice tilt-a-whirl arm drag, which was completely surprising. That's a pretty well-known cruiserweight move.
Canadian Destroyer
He did hit a
on the
Canadian
outside.
Destroyer on the outside, which is a banned move in WWE.
I'm gonna stop you on both of those. Those are both moves that are done by the person receiving them.
No, it is.
So
completely.
You can't give all credit to Bad Bunny here, and I've seen that on the internet. I have to halt people now, do research on those moves. Bad Bunny didn't do the Destroyer. You only can get somebody like Morrison to do something like that to put over a celebrity and make sure they're safe.
No, I completely agree with that.
A lot of credit has to go to Miz and Morrison too, because they are two that can put somebody over.
Credit. Exactly, and they did just that. They kept them safe. They're safe workers for the most part.
The one move that was more of him than it was the person receiving it looked kind of sloppy, which was the Falcon Arrow. The Falcon Arrow really isn't the other person. You kind of have to do the work. Which that move did look kind of sloppy. But overall, he did do well. He sold well. He took things well. And overall, I think he executed well. Was he as good as Pat McAfee? No. He wasn't as good as Pat McAfee. He wasn't even close to Pat McAfee.
But I think Pat McAfee is a more compelling person in the ring. Bad Bunny is just he was a stiff worker. If you watch his moves, he's not fluid with the transitions.
Yeah.
McAfee, he's better. I'm sorry. I'm going to give it to McAfee. He was a better celebrity talent that should be in the ring over Bad Bunny.
McAfee also took a lot longer training.
He did, to be fair.
Training for almost a year.
Not on the same level per se. And again, I'm not taking anything away. Bad Bunny, in this regard, is the best celebrity appearance of like a musician. McAfee is an athlete. Bad Bunny is not. So
absolutely,
he deserves that credit for that. But
you can't. I mean, he did well for what it was worth. There was a lot of moves, like you said, that the person receiving it does all of the work.
The Destroyer 100%.
Yeah.
Like if you watch it back, it's Morrison doing the flip.
Well, that's why Dustin Rhodes can still do it at his age.
Correct.
Which he does it almost every match, and a lot of the time it's on the apron. But yeah, for what it's worth, I thought Damian Priest was going to get a lot more screen time in this match. But Bad Bunny did a lot better than I anticipated. And they gave them a lot more time than I thought they were going to. That match was 15 minutes and 5 seconds.
I thought for sure, like I even said it, I was like, Damian Priest is going to run this match. They're going to give Bad Bunny a move off the top rope, like a splash to win it. And then that's it. Then they send people home. But no, they started him and he ran with it. He controlled the match.
Yeah.
Damian Priest, though, from my understanding, was working somewhat injured too.
Yeah, he had a back injury, from what I heard. But yeah, this was longer and a lot better than I thought it was going to be. If you add the entrances to that, that's just the match time at 15 minutes and 5 seconds. If you add all of the entrances, because they were long entrances, even the bunny one was a long entrance. Damian Priest has a long entrance. Then they had a cinematic entrance for Bad Bunny. You're probably looking close to 25 minutes for that match.
Can we talk about the awkward semi-trailer? Like, what was that?
I don't know.
What was that? Why did he have the most extravagant entrance out of anyone at WrestleMania?
A semi-truck with handlebars on top.
Like, what the heck? And then Triple H's nod, what was it, the next night? Your business is done here. Now you have to go on tour for your next album.
It's completely what that was. It was a plug for Bad Bunny's tour, this whole thing. I know,
but still, like, it was like, the way I interpret it was Triple H's way of saying thank you for the money. Now get the hell out of my company.
Yeah, gave him a Triple H-inspired microphone that he's going to use on tour most likely.
Oh, I'm sure. But it's just, wow. It was such a wild thing and so out of place.
No, I mean, it is what it is. As far as that goes, pretty good match for what it was worth. A lot better than what people thought it was going to be. But moving on to the main event, we had the SmackDown's Women's Championship. Bianca Belair going in as the challenger and defeating Sasha Banks, the champion.
Let's talk about the EST of NXT era.
She only had a T on her hair, I think.
No.
You're talking about the Jumbotron. Yeah, the screen behind her said EST of NXT. Well, she hasn't been in NXT in a while. I actually mentioned that when I saw it. But by the time she got to the ring after she was twirling her hair, before the match started, she only had the T left in the EST on her braid. But yeah,
she got to use the braid at least.
True, and we'll get to that. This match was a good match. This was the match of the night. This was the match of WrestleMania, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Night 1 and 2 combined, this was the match of WrestleMania. It was an extremely good back and forth. Again, they kind of made Bianca Belair look like the massive underdog that kind of just takes it. Kind of like she did when she took the slap a couple weeks back that we talked about. But in the end, she ended up going through the nasty whip with the braid, which ended up making a pretty significant mark on Sasha Banks. And then finishing her off.
Do you think they did a thigh slap?
No thigh slap needed. I don't know if you saw after the match, Sasha Banks sitting on the ramp, and then she looks at it. That thing was brutal. She took quite the whip on that.
Yeah. I'm usually not a fan of her hair whipping thing, but that one, she got her.
It was nasty, and
she had it coming. She kept pulling on it the entire match.
That's what I was just going to say.
Usually it looks very dumb, just the way it's a quick little with the end, but that one, I heard people saying, or saw some people saying that sound was piped in for that. I don't think it was the way it went that well. I think that was the real sound on there.
I mean, it was big enough to cause blood.
People, this is wrestling entertainment. It's a show. Who cares if it's piped in? It's a show.
Yeah, I know.
You question that, but then we have the character like the Fiend. Come on.
Yeah.
Did you also see Sasha Banks crying because she was so happy for Bianca?
They have pictures. They have pictures posted of Sasha Banks after the match, sitting against the barricade, smiling, watching the celebration.
I mean, history was made. That's a huge moment. You can't take that away from them, and they deserved it. They earned it.
And pictures
I would be emotional too.
Yeah, pictures have also came out of there was all of the women's division was in the audience watching the match, supporting them, which I thought that was extremely cool as well. Great match overall. Great match overall. Match of WrestleMania, like I said, just from start to finish, this was a great match. It felt like it had a big fight feel to it the entire time.
Well, if you're going to teach anybody about wrestling and storytelling in the ring, this is going to be one of those examples that you give to people to learn. Because they told just that. They told the story. Even in a vacuum, they told the story in that match. You didn't need a video package for this. They put it all out there in the ring to tell their story.
Yeah. But that concluded night 1 of WrestleMania, which, like I said, I do believe this was the much better of the two. But we'll get into night 2 now, which opened up with Randy Orton and The Fiend. Randy Orton defeated The Fiend after what seemed to be a distraction. I'm dropping frames right now. I see it. Why am I dropping frames? Oh, I think I'm good now. But yeah, Randy Orton defeated The Fiend with what seems to be a distraction from Alexa Bliss, who is leaking black fluid from her crown.
I'm so mad. Like, I am so mad about this booking. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, the entrance was extravagant for The Fiend. It was an extremely extravagant entrance. Very, very good. Not saying it's bad, extravagant. It's a very, very good entrance that I did not see coming with the Jack in the Box.
No, that was super cool. Like the entrance, the transformation thing, because ultimately I questioned how are you going to get out of the burned Fiend variant.
Yeah.
Obviously there were rumors around there was going to be 2, Bo Dallas. I know we spoke on that before. They squashed that apparently, even though that rumor is still out there. So like they didn't really explain the transformation. I mean, they have time to, and video packages coming soon. But like, cool, he's back in a slightly different outfit. And then I don't understand the transformation of Bliss then. I don't understand a 5-minute match, which wasn't even good.
No.
And then the distraction, and then he loses. And then then they disappear, and then the crowd boos.
Tonight on Raw, Bliss said something like she no longer needs the Fiend.
But why? But why? What? Maybe flash forward, the bigger picture will make more sense, but this is confusing, and this isn't good confusing. This is their...
It makes sense, because it doesn't now.
No, it doesn't.
I said in the nOw chat on Discord, which people should join, I was like, I gotta say the Fiend was gonna win, but the way they've treated the character, I just couldn't say that, and that's what happened. So I wasn't even surprised.
No, it was bad booking. It was a bad booking decision. It was a hyped up return. He gave a nod, from my understanding, to Brody.
He did
during the match too.
Yeah, his entrance. Oh, he kept doing it. I noticed it in the entrance.
I don't know. Hopefully we'll see the bigger picture and they do something that has a good payoff, but like, this was the problem with Bray Wyatt. This was the problem with the Wyatt family. This is a consistent booking error with this character. You can't pump this much intrigue to have him lose, especially against Orton, who doesn't need this win. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I completely agree.
One RKO.
5 minutes into a match.
He was no-selling everything else, but then one RKO takes him out.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No, definitely disappointing. Which just started the night of disappointment, really, if we're being honest.
Well, that should not have been the first match. That is a horrible precedent to set for the night to come.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had the crowd. You had the crowd booing at the end of the first match.
Yeah, and a 5-minute match at that. You should not. No. That was bad. Bad WWE.
Yep. Moving on from that, we had Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defending against the Tag Team Turmoil winners the night before. Natty and Tamina, who ended up losing anyway.
Buried all the women.
Yeah, just not. I wasn't a fan of this match. It was too long. I don't think it really told much of a story. We got to see Tamina do some cool stuff. But other than that, I really didn't enjoy this match.
I don't like either team, but Natty and Tamina make more sense as a team, I think. At least.
They're the better talent as a team.
Well, and their legacies. It's Jimmy Superfly Snuka's daughter, and then a Hart family member together.
Yeah,
so it's a legacy.
Which I enjoy. Like there's a story right there, and they're both actually really good too. So,
but then you had Natty just pass out.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. Like Baszler, they've horribly booked her, and I have a personal bias against Nia Jax. I just don't like her. Like,
she's a botch machine. She's hurt so many people. She's not
she's
that great.
she's just
She
not
needs more
interesting.
training. Baszler, I'm not a big fan of, but I think she's a good wrestler, and I'm just not a fan of her character. But I think she would be better as a single competitor.
100%. Yep, 100%.
She doesn't seem like the type that want a teammate. And obviously she's got the four horsewomen thing from MMA, but two of them are not very good in the ring so far from what I've seen. They may have improved, but the other two that were in NXT with her were not good.
Well, you made a valid point, too. If you followed her at all in NXT, Baszler would not have teamed with people, especially Nia Jax.
Nope.
Yeah. And then Ronda Rousey, they're not going to team her up with her right now. I mean, even when she comes back, because that's the rumor, she's coming back. She's going to be in the main event picture, or she's not going to be in the tag team picture, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. No.
Yeah. That match is what it is. Moving on, we had a match that was less than 10 minutes long. Kevin Owens defeating Sami Zayn with Logan Paul at ringside. Which did get boos.
Short but good. But these two always put on a good match with each other.
That's my thing. That's my complaint about this match. This is WrestleMania. Now, we have seen these two have many great matches. A couple on NXT, a couple on the main roster. We've seen them have great matches abroad. Not everybody's seen that. But this one wasn't even top 3.
No, this was one of their worst matches together. And I think a lot of it has to do with their gimmicks.
Exactly. And this is the first time we've seen a face Kevin Owens going up against a heel Sami Zayn. It's always been reversed.
Yeah.
But this is, like I said, not even top 3. If you go and look at some of their NXT matches, way, way better than this under 2-minute match they were given on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania.
Owens is definitely better as a heel.
Yeah, he's a better
as a face.
Heel.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. These two should have delivered something better. And I blame the gimmicks. I blame it completely on what we said of them being the opposite of what they should be for this match.
Yeah, and the best part of the match was Logan Paul getting a stunner at the end.
Yep, I was happy about that. Bye-bye, Paul. Get out of here.
That's pretty much it that I have for this match. You guys have anything else?
Nope.
No.
Moving on, we had the United States Championship match between Sheamus and Riddle going in as the champion. Sheamus defeated Riddle. All
right.
Now, this was a good match.
Whew. I loved this match.
This was a very, very good match.
It was a good match, but I think the wrong person won.
No.
With the finish that we got, I don't mind it. With the finishing move we got, I don't mind it. I mean, it is kind of a throwback. We are seeing it kind of more frequently now since Adam Cole and Ricochet did it, the super kick on the moonsault.
They did do that. That's right.
That's the first time that I ever saw that done, but I've seen it done, I think, 3 times since then.
We almost had disaster during this match, too. Sheamus was trying to go for white noise on the top.
And he fell off.
And yeah, because his knee, he was injured at some
point. He thought about climbing back up to it. Then you see him turn around and he's like, no. And he just
slammed him, and then went for that awkward top rope like elbow or knee thing.
Yep.
Like, definitely that was improvised because it didn't seem like something
it didn't
flow.
Just do. Yeah, it didn't flow with the rest of the match. But you could tell it's a pretty obvious botch. But even with that, this match was great. The finish.
Oh, it was fantastic.
The finish was amazing. You had the bro kick, which looked more like just a regular kick. Looked like a punt kick. Right to Matt Riddle's mouth, which was bloody after.
Yeah, that was great. I think he connected. I don't know if he actually did, but they did a convincing job if he didn't.
Yeah.
Great finish. I'm a big fan of Sheamus. A lot of people hate him for whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
I like his work. He's stiff. He's aggressive. He's a good worker. Yeah, I miss the bar. So like, and the real bar too.
Yeah.
The only reason I think I thought Matt Riddle should have won is because I thought they were giving him a bigger push, and he hasn't had the title that long, and
Hey,
I thought that's just gonna kill him off because I don't see him going for the main event title.
Oh Lord, I hope not.
He's not taking it off Lashley.
Yeah.
No. Could you imagine Riddle versus Lashley? Riddle beats Lashley.
Riddle did have his night though with RVD, but
Dude,
that might be why he lost. Rolling papers on WrestleMania.
On Peacock, who is censoring DX and Edge content, but they can talk about rolling papers.
They might not have been able to, and it might have just been thrown in there. This was a live segment.
You can roll tobacco with them.
That's true.
Yeah, because that's what people are doing.
I didn't say that's what they were doing.
We know how these two guys are in Riddle and RVD. They're both massive stoners, and everybody knows it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because Riddle actually spoke out about his time in the UFC. He called out Dana White for. Yeah, it's why he got let go. Yeah. They changed their policy recently in the UFC regarding their drug testing, and now they can use marijuana. So Riddle called Dana White out on that.
you have Nick Diaz lighting up during open workouts with fans around. So I mean, it's completely different than what it was when Matt Riddle got popped for it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, the things are changing everywhere with that too. So
this was a very, very good match. For a night of just doozies, this was kind of a shining light in that. Moving on to the next match, we had the Nigerian drum fight for the Intercontinental Championship. Big E, the championship, losing to Apollo Crews. I already told you last night I'm going to dig into this. Was not a fan of Dabakato coming out. We all knew him. I don't know why the announcers and everybody was acting like we've never seen him before. Who is this guy? We saw him on Raw Underground weekly, every single week. I said
that in the Discord. I'm like, act like we've never seen this guy. He stands out.
Yeah, we saw
him. Did they say his name?
Yes. Shane McMahon said his name multiple times. Did they say his name WrestleMania? No. But Shane McMahon said his name on Raw.
Here's the thing: WWE wants you to forget things that happened more than a year ago. They don't like to bring up old things.
Was that over a year ago?
I don't think Raw Underground was even.
I thought it was during COVID.
Was it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But yeah, I mean, you had this guy there weekly destroying people, and then he got squashed by Braun Strowman, and then Raw Underground ended magically. But that's the last we saw of him.
You mean thankfully?
Yeah. But the thing that I was not happy about this match with him, as you both know, I was in the Marine Corps. They used corporal rankings that go on our dress uniforms, on our green uniforms. They used the actual rank and just sewed it on his attire. I looked closer on it. I actually turned it on before we got on just to make sure it is the exact same thing. Travis, I sent you a picture of it.
You did, yeah. Now, do we know any more on if he actually served? Not that it adds, any okayness to the situation.
If he served, honestly, it would make it worse. Because anybody that has served, especially, I don't want to say especially in the Marine Corps, but anybody that's served knows that we take great pride in our uniform, and stolen valor is a big thing. When you take that rank and throw it on an attire that has nothing to do with the Marine Corps, I mean, it had the tassels on it, everything like that. That's very disrespectful to the uniform as a whole when you do something like that. So I wasn't a fan of this at all.
Is that ranking system universal, or is that primarily just for the Marine Corps?
that is just the Marine Corps. If you go to the Army or the Air Force or the Navy, everybody has different rank insignia.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know, so I figured
Yeah.
I'd ask.
Yeah, so this is a Marine Corps corporal, which is an an E4. So I mean, if you go to, say, the Army and look up E4, it's a completely different insignia for that rank. But this is a legitimate patch that I can go up in my closet right now and find because I was a corporal once. So I could literally go get the patches that he had on there, bring my whole uniform down, and it would be the same exact patches. So I just found it extremely disrespectful that they were going to use it as a gimmick. If they were just going to, find some sort of different way to do it, it would have been completely fine. But actually taking something from the military itself and throwing it on an attire, I took a little bit of offense to that.
It's just interesting to know because WWE obviously takes a lot of pride with their support of the troops.
Yep.
It's one of those things. How did someone not know?
And
I got two things here. First, it doesn't look like he was in the military from his Wikipedia. I mean, obviously that's his Wikipedia. They could not just have that. His name is Commander Aziz now, according to Wikipedia. And then Raw Underground debuted on August 3rd, and the last one was September 21st of 2020.
It's not that long ago. 6 months? 7 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, this has been the longest year in a pandemic ever.
Yeah.
And he was on the last one, wasn't? I think that's when him and Braun fought.
Yep, that's when he got squashed by Braun. It's the very last episode of Raw Underground. But
yeah, he just was gone.
I wasn't a fan. As soon as I saw that, I kind of just got pissed off at the whole thing. Not even that they ruined this match. That was arguably going as the match of the night, arguably, at this point in time. And then they just ruined it completely with...
I'm just not a fan of Apollo's gimmick.
No, not many.
I mean, we spoke on that in the last podcast. I apologize if I offended anyone with my commentary on that. It was more a curiosity as opposed to being offensive.
Yeah.
It was a good match, and I'm glad they didn't have E get squashed or beat. It was a way to make him still look strong and lose.
He's the hometown guy, though, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I said the lock steady. I was messaging him because we watched the night one together, but night two I was home, and I'm like, it's his hometown. He's not winning. He misunderstood. He thought I said he was winning, but I'm like, no, people don't win in their hometowns. Ongoing thing.
Well, especially if they're a face, they definitely don't win in their hometown because you're going to put over that heel. It's an easy way to put over a heel.
Yeah, not a fan. I mean, I was already kind of disappointed with everything that was happening in the night. Sheamus and Riddle was saving it a little bit, and then it kind of just took another dump all over this card. Ending that, we went on to Asuka, the champion, going up against Rhea Ripley, who ended up getting the win, even with a musical artist singing her out to the ring. Which is
God, she was terrible. I'm sorry.
It was pretty bad, but apparently that's a bad omen. But then again, she won at the end, which was a pretty good match. I mean, it looked pretty stiff. It was pretty hard hitting. It got pretty technical throughout. I enjoyed this match for what it was worth. It was a 13-minute match.
They're both great workers.
Yeah, none of these matches were really long.
I was surprised Rhea won because she just got called up. I mean, she was in the Rumble, of course, but they didn't officially count her as called up, and
Yeah. And so I think that's why they went ahead with this is because during the Royal Rumble there was a lot of back and forth of Bianca Belair's feet hit the floor, Rhea, this is her spot, blah blah blah, which it wasn't true, but it showed that Rhea had a big fan base as well, which in turn I think gave her enough publicity for Vince to be like, okay, let's give her a shot, and if we're gonna have Bianca win, let's have Rhea win too, and have kind of a reintroduction. Hey, this is the future of the women's division.
And I think it's just that. It's somebody paying it forward into the future, which they need to do more on.
Yeah.
Because isn't Rhea Ripley only like 24 or something?
She's very young. Yeah.
So, yeah, you pay that forward, you have right there at least 10 years for someone competing in your division and enhancing, all the other people surrounding her. So it was a smart move. It was a very smart move.
24.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, right there, at least 10 years. 10 solid years of work.
Yeah, and I mean, this was a good match. Both, like Trevor said, both of these women are extremely good workers. The way Asuka's been treated throughout her main roster run has been a little rough. This title run has been a little rough, but this match was very good, and I think it was proper timing at this point to take the title off of her and give it to the younger talent.
Yeah.
But
so before we go ahead,
I was going to go into a segment that happened right after this match.
I'm glad you are, because I was going to as well.
Gotcha. So we had Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil come out to the stage in pirate outfits.
Arr.
Then the Bella Twins came out as well, along with Bayley.
Ding dong.
Now, Bayley had to take a bump from the Bella Twins in this segment.
I mean, but not after the unneeded John Cena remark.
True. But I enjoyed that. I'm a big fan of Bayley.
Low blow.
I'm a big fan of Bayley. I don't know if you guys caught the fans. The Bella Twins aren't over. I don't know why WWE thinks the Bella Twins are over.
Because they transcend into entertainment, and they've done a lot to bring in fans into that side of things. I think the Bella Twins deserve more respect than they're given.
Bayley took that bump, and the boos rained in. I don't know if you noticed that, but if you watch it back, the boos rained in. There was no piping there, because if anything, they would have tried to pipe in some cheers. That was a loud boo for Bayley taking a bump.
Well, it's because Bayley is over right now, though.
A woman that probably should have been booked on the card at some point.
Why wasn't she?
Because she was set on night 1 and night 2 of being I don't want to say a co-host, but kind of. She kind of threw herself into that position of being a co-host.
But after the year she had, or the last 2 years,
she absolutely carried the Kova era for the women's division, in my opinion.
I don't understand how you couldn't place her somewhere in a match.
No, even if you didn't give her a title match, give her something. It's Bayley.
You could have thrown her with a random person to put her in the tag match.
You could have.
In all honesty, I thought that's what they were going to do.
I thought Becky was coming back and they were going to team together.
Honestly, I thought it was going to be Becky and Rousey as a surprise last team.
Gross.
I mean,
where was Peyton Royce? She could have done it.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There's another option. Like, they could have done something.
Yeah, that teaming that you just said doesn't make sense in my head.
Well, half the teams didn't make sense anyway, so why not continue the narrative?
Yeah, but this was what you just said is a WrestleMania main event that we had that neither women like each other, even in public, like real life, they don't like each other. Most of the women don't like Ronda Rousey because she trash talks WWE.
Sometimes you keep your enemies closer.
I mean, I get it. I get it to a point. Are you ready to go into the main event of night 2?
Other than that, I just wanted to kind of brush over something we didn't speak on was with that rain delay, before we got the rain delay, was Vince McMahon and the roster welcoming everyone back. to me, that was a cool moment, and you could tell he had a lot of pride in having attendance again.
Yeah.
And it was something genuinely missed. And you could tell a lot of the reactions on people's entrance that it took their breath away. Even Randy Orton is an example. He broke character somewhat to have a reaction to the crowd, and then he went back into character, faking slipping, during his entrance, being his normal, jerk self. But you could tell a lot of people were just like, this is what we live for. This is what we do. We live to entertain and have an audience. And to see Vince, welcome everyone back and have him say, welcome to WrestleMania, is just, it's been a long year without crowds, and it's been so different. And they've made it work, and I'm thankful, but it has been so different.
We kind of skipped over it a little bit when we were talking about night one. But Bianca Belair looked terrified walking out to the ring. And if you think about it, she's never competed to a crowd bigger than Full Sail University.
This is her biggest opportunity.
She walked out to 26,000 fans. She looked terrified.
Well, she was getting emotional during the introductions when they were both in the ring, too.
Yeah. But thankfully, it didn't transcend to the match, and she actually did a very good job.
It didn't. She went to business and, did what she needed to do for it. But it's just, you see the difference right there for someone new to it compared to a veteran like Sasha.
Yeah.
Not to say that Bianca Belair, that's bad on her for getting emotional, because I more than likely would also. You live, you breathe this, and this is such a lot of success thrust upon her in a short amount of time, and being also so young.
Yep.
So it's cool to see that people can be taken back by what they love so much, because that makes me appreciate the talents that they're there because they love this entertainment spectacle.
Yeah.
And as a wrestling fan, again, that's so amazing to see. And they're not there or going elsewhere just for a paycheck, because we saw so much of that in the 90s. That it's amazing to see that people care and are passionate, because that's ultimately which will lead us into the continued generations of wrestling and have this thing not go extinct on us.
Yeah, absolutely. Batman said Sasha seemed pleased for her too. Which, we talked about that, her sitting on the barricade and being caught smiling, just basking in the moment. But moving on to night two, the main event of night two, we had a triple threat for the Universal Championship. The champion, Roman Reigns, defeating Edge and Daniel Bryan. And I say that as it is. He defeated both Edge and Daniel Bryan by pinning them both in the center of the ring.
Talk about uber heel, man.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. As the match went on, I got to thinking a lot about booking. And as, someone who likes to dabble with creative stuff, working with all of you guys who watch and participate in NAW, I've spoken with a lot of, the people that do the show with us. I'm creating storylines and giving feedback on what I think would work, what is good, what is bad. I'm no genius. I've watched wrestling a long time. So I like experimenting with things. The more I watched this match, the bias in me started to fade away, because obviously I wanted Edge. I'm waiting for your snarky remark regarding Edge.
No, I figured you would.
But that's the bias in me. I love Edge, favorite dude. Jericho is one of the other, favorites of all time. So of course I'm going to go into this, 10 years without Edge. Yes, of course he won the Rumble. He's the greatest. He should win this. But the more I got to thinking about it, I'm like, does Edge really need this? No, he's just happy to be back and putting over people and getting to do this again. Daniel Bryan, he's happy to be back and doing this again and able to do it. He already had his WrestleMania moment, defeating Batista and Orton at WrestleMania 30. He had his big storyline. What's a loss do for a gimmick like head of the table do? Losing the title at WrestleMania, what does that do for that gimmick? Well, it kills it. It ends it, essentially. It ruins everything they put into it with putting over Edge or Daniel Bryan. No, they don't need that.
That's the thing. I thought it would ruin it if Roman took the pin. That's why I thought Daniel Bryan was put in there. I thought Daniel Bryan was put in this match to take the pin from Edge. So as a way to give Edge the title without having Roman lose. Would it have been a short reign? Probably, because Roman probably would have won it the next week or next 2 weeks, something around there. But I do like how they did this a lot more than what originally came to my head with what I thought they were going to do. And also kind of making Edge a bigger heel as well. Hitting the concerto on Daniel Bryan. Knowing the history that Daniel Bryan has had with his basically same injury as what Edge had.
Well, Bryan earlier in the match was stomping on his neck, saying you got a neck injury. So they both looked heelish.
All three of them did.
Who was the face here?
Throughout the whole feud, all of them looked heelish. I mean, Daniel Bryan just looked like the snarky kid that got his way. Even in the call-outs of the match, like when they were announcing all three men, when they announced Daniel Bryan, he was just sitting there laughing as they announced him, which all of them played a heel role. I don't think anybody was the face here. But Roman Reigns is so over at this point that a lot of people were cheering for Roman.
Well, at one point when he was about to powerbomb Edge through the table, and they were moving, and he just soaking it in and powerbombed it. That was great. Yeah. And then Edge with the spear. That wasn't a great spear, but it was funny just the way he come flying in. It looked like more like a tackling hug.
He always does. But I do love the way this match ended. Roman Reigns pinning both men center of the ring. I've already seen people complain and be like, oh, well, technically Edge was on top of Daniel, who Daniel's shoulders were on the mat, so Edge is the champion. No, both of their shoulders were on the mat, you can tell. And
it's ultimately the referee's decision, so.
Yeah, and Roman was on top. We've seen the double pin multiple times.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time we've seen it. Don't try to make a story out of something.
And again, you really got to think about it. Like, and this is saying something. This is truly saying something. If you know me, if you've listened to my narration since the inception of this podcast, I have spoken, I don't think, even once. Even with the transformation of Roman finally going heel, I was still like, I have never once said you made the right move. I'm saying WrestleMania, you made the right move. So that's huge for me to understand this.
Yeah,
it was absolutely the right move. I thought for sure, like Kodi said, that Bryan was put in there to get the pin from Edge. Just so Reigns didn't look weak or lose.
Yeah.
But that was WrestleMania. Out of everything we talked about, Stand and Deliver was by far the show of the week. WrestleMania Night 2 did not live up to the hype. It was very disappointing. No. Match 1 was a lot better. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen WrestleMania, Match 1 is the night to watch.
I mean, Night 1.
Yeah, Night 1 is the match, or the night to watch. But other than that, that is all we have on the week of wrestling. Do you guys?
It's a lot to digest.
We have been going at it for 2 hours and 10 minutes at this point.
It's a long one. We knew it, though. It's like I said, it's a lot to digest here.
It's a special.
I don't think that you guys will be this long in future ones, but I mean, hey, maybe people enjoy listening to a longer podcast too. It's one of those things, Kodi and Trevor, you guys should put out there for your listeners and see what they want.
Yeah. Next week, we'll of course be doing the week of wrestling, the week in wrestling. Me and Trevor will discuss what we want to do for a throwback pay-per-view because we do want to get back on that. I think that was a very good element. Gives us 2 pay-per-views to talk about that usually, if we don't talk way too long about certain things, that usually will land us about 90 minutes. this one we basically talked about 4 pay-per-views, and it lasted us 2 hours and 10 minutes.
And you guys are going to be doing these on Sundays, right?
Sunday will be the typical day. Doing it on Monday this week because WrestleMania. Any pay-per-view, we'll talk, and possibly whenever pay-per-views are. So after they did change the name of Backlash to WrestleMania Backlash. So after that, possibly do the Monday after. But we'll talk to you guys more behind the scenes about that to see if that's something you're open to. But next week, Trevor, will you be available next week on Sunday?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be back at it weekly. Gravity, if you are not going to be here, we'll most likely find a rotating guest at this point.
The ones that I'm mostly interested in would be the ones after like a current pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give you a heads up on that. So, and to speak on that, WrestleMania Backlash, May 16th, that's really the name they're going with?
WrestleMania Backlash. Yep.
That is so dumb. I hate it.
Yeah, it's literally WrestleMania Backlash, and it has the WrestleMania logo mixed with the traditional Backlash logo. It's the same thing.
Oh, God. Why don't we call it WrestleMania Judgment Day? WrestleMania SummerSlam? WrestleMania Survivor? Like, this is stupid.
Or just keep it at Backlash.
That's what I would prefer.
We all knew that Backlash was the Backlash of WrestleMania because it's always been the pay-per-view after. You don't have to insult our intelligence by saying this is WrestleMania's
who made this
Backlash.
Decision?
Yeah, the terrible decision.
Oh, God.
But that'll be our next pay-per-view that we do. Like I said, next week, me and Trevor will talk about a pay-per-view, possibly tonight to do next week. We'll have it posted so we can have a rotating guest. Whoever wants to be on, just let us know, and we'll pick and choose from there. And then we'll be back to this weekly. We hope not to take too many breaks. I know we've taken quite a few breaks, a couple long breaks in and out of this show, but I'd like to start making this a reoccurring thing. Now that I have this set up, I'm going to be tinkering with it a little bit, getting it fine-tuned and perfected, and we'll be able to get this done weekly. Do you guys have anything?
No, just excited for what you guys do with this. Excited for the Mondays that don't have this podcast. From my understanding is that you're going to be playing a rotation of games, including community type stuff, and trying to be more engaging with our community for content like that.
Correct. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do this upcoming Monday. I'll have it decided, and it'll be filtered down, so we'll all know here in the next couple of days.
Exactly. So as always, we'll put out our weekly schedules every single week. As we plan ahead, what I want to do is have the month kind of in advance plotted out. Obviously, asterisks on things. Things do come up. Things do change, especially during the warmer type season that's approaching for us. People venture out and do things. So always have an asterisk, but be on the lookout for schedules coming from us.
Absolutely. Trevor, do you have any parting words?
It's good to be back and good show.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, we will see you guys next week. Until then, stay nerdy.
Boom.